I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and it's spring! Time for all the big-haired mamas to polish up those white pumps and hike up those Hanes sheer-top pantyhose, isn't it? Tonight we got Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, in which John Wayne's son fights all kinds of Gumby monsters, and Clash of the Titans, where Harry Hamlin fights all kinds of Gumby monsters. Is Ray Harryhausen in the house? Yeah, I do believe our favorite dinosaur animator is lurking in the wings. And speaking of Jurassic jungle parties, I was reading this National Geographic article last week, and have you ever noticed how every once in a while some photographer or hiker or anthropologist or somebody finds a new Stone Age tribe living in Papua New Guinea or Borneo or the Congo or the Amazon River Basin, and somebody writes a book about how gentle and unspoiled these people are because all they do all day is run around naked in a cave. And then a couple years later, some photographer will go back there, and they'll all be wearing Metallica sweatshirts and selling bootleg videos to tourists. And everybody goes, oh, isn't that awful? And then the missionaries show up, Baptists and Catholics and those French guys with the funny shirts, and they turn all these Stone Age naked people into Christians. And this makes the anthropologists mad because they think, you ought to leave those people alone. And then the tribes people start buying Evinrude motors for their canoes and trading in their loincloths for Levi's and basically turning themselves into jungle mall rats, and everybody thinks, this is really disgusting. Modern civilization has destroyed these people. Well, let me explain something. What if the outer Mongolian tribes people want Evinrude speedboats? What if they're sick to death of paddling their canoes all day? What if it's easier to buy some cheap denim work shirts from German tourists than to sew banana leaves together? And I don't much like missionaries either, but I got to ask you, isn't it their gall-darn choice whether they want to be Baptists or tree worshipers? I mean, what if being a Baptist makes them feel better because they're switching over from some religion that's full of fear and revenge and superstition? So in other words, why don't we just let the dying people choose what they want? If Indian tribes in Ecuador want to drive around the jungle in Toyotas, that's what they want to do. If African tribes want to spend all their money on cellular phones so they don't have to use drum signals anymore, I don't blame them. You know, if the Stone Age people of Papua New Guinea want to charge tourists $5 to come into the village and look at their sacred baboon statue, let them make a little jack for the public treasury. Show them everything we have, let them use what they want. They can go to the mall if they want to. Anyhow, I got your ancient civilization right here, buddy. It's Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, and if you don't know the name Ray Harryhausen, you guys know. He's the special effects maestro who did the dinosaurs in 1 million years BC. He did It Came From Beneath the Sea, all those kind of pre-computer animation lurching beast movies. This is the third Sinbad movie he did, and it stars Patrick Wayne as Sinbad, who goes to the ends of the earth to turn a baboon back into a prince so he can get a little nookie reward from a very hot Jane Seymour who wears many midriff-bearing ensembles. It also stars a lot of the aforementioned lurching beasts, and we'll do the drive-in totals at the next break, but just roll the films. You have to put these films in a historical perspective when you watch them. You have to say, will it express the essence of the era to which it belonged using the available technology to the utmost capacity? Because if you don't say that, it's kind of a crappy film. But if you do say that, it's got John Wayne's son trying to emote, so... I mean, is it John Wayne's son in this movie, or did they use stop-motion animation for that performance? Yes. No, unfortunately, it's John Wayne's son. He tries to reproduce the effect of stop-motion animation, though, like one of those animatronic actors at Epcot Center or something. You'll see.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger on TNT.
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, as the virgin princess who goes braless and wears cornrows. How come Bo Derek got all the credit for cornrows? 10 came out in 1979. Here's Jane Seymour's doing that 2 years earlier. And did I mention that braless top? I mentioned that, didn't I? Cantilever construction on that baby. No visible means of support on that thing. Let's not dwell on that, though. Then on the other end of the hot, sexy mama scale, we've got the evil stepmother Zenobia, who looks like a drag queen working 11th Avenue. But you know who that is? Margaret Whiting, the great jazz singer who sang with Percy Faith. She had 13 gold records. She created songs like That Old Black Magic. That was written for her. I think she also originated One for My Baby. Anyway, I promised the drive-in totals. We have 103 dead bodies, 1 dead Neanderthal, 2 partial breasts, sword fighting, stair rolling, belly dancing, giant mosquito attack, Dinorama headbutting, Dinorama arm biting, Dinorama cat scratching, skeleton foo, 3 stars. If you keep in mind that it was made in 1977, almost 2 decades before Jurassic Park, and 2 decades before this, special effects consisted of swinging a toy spaceship on a fishing rod, so 2 stars. Anyhow, who cares about that when Jane Seymour is dressed up in that pink I Dream of Jeannie baby doll princess top thing? Yummy! Okay, back to the movie. Jane Seymour, queen of the miniseries. But nobody really remembers her fine work in the 1979 TV movie classic, Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders. Remember that? The gripping account of the reality behind the glamour. Moving story that premiered one night before Monday Night Football. You remember that? Some of us couldn't watch the game that night. We were so moved by Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders. I get teary just remembering that. In fact, it reminds me of that great Margaret Whiting jazz classic, One for My Baby. You guys don't even know what I'm talking about when I talk about Margaret Whiting, do you? You know, 2:45. No one in the place except me and the woman at the end of the bar who looks like Margaret Whiting. That's always that's the story of my life. Set 'em up, Joe. Jane Seymour's already left the bar and stepped on my toe. I'm here with Margaret Whiting.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger on TNT.
You ever notice how no matter how many voyages Sinbad goes on, there's always one more voyage before he can get the girl? Talk about high-maintenance women. Jane Seymour and her 2 enormous talents are really motivating this plot, aren't they? The evil queen turns her brother into a baboon, and if they don't find a way to turn him back into Prince Kasim before 6 moons go by, then Zenobia's idiot son will ascend the throne, causing Jane Seymour to be so hacked off that Sinbad will get no nookie. But the only guy who can help is an ancient Greek alchemist, the hermit of Maruk, who is ringed with deadly reefs. I love that part. He's ringed with deadly reefs. Although they got through the deadly reefs pretty damn quick, didn't they? Of course, they weren't counting on the boulder-throwing savages who protect the ancient city until a blonde rescues them with her telepathia, the ancient Greek word for telepathy. They had me confused until they explained that telepathia means telepathy. But the Greek hermit's real purpose is to prove that the baboon is really Prince Kasim in baboon form. And the way he does this, did you notice this? He says, if it's a baboon and we show him his image in a mirror, he'll attack the mirror. So he hands the mirror to Jane Seymour. Here, you show him his image. And the monkey cries. Good thing for you, Jane. It really is your brother, you know. But you know what they really need? See, before, that doesn't even matter. Because what they have to have, the ancient runic cuneiform manuscripts, once consulted by Archimedes of Syracuse, or Archimedes of Syracuse, right? And that tells them that they need to journey to Hyperborea, land of the Alimapa, which is impossible because it's in a valley surrounded by solid ice in the coldest region of the world. Fortunately, he rummages around in his hermit of Maruk residence there, and he goes, oh, you know what? I have the key to that place. Okay, let's go. Hurry up, though, because we're being chased by a golden minotaur who's rowing their big boat. Does that about sum up the plot at this point? I don't even know what I said, but don't make me say that again, okay? Margaret Whiting is on her way, and that old black magic has me in its spell. They should have Margaret Whiting just burst into song at this point, because that would go with the movie. She's the queen of black magic, right?
And in the Eye of the Tiger on TNT.
Patrick Wayne, what an actor. Shouldn't he have waited until his voice developed to start acting? Sounds like he's 14 years old in this movie. I'm Sinbad the Sailor Man. Patrick had a hard time following in Daddy's footsteps. Although it's interesting because John Wayne didn't think he himself was a very good actor. He once said that he was just playing John Wayne in every movie, but nobody seemed to mind that because some guys, they just have a quality, like Jimmy Stewart. He had a quality, and Clint Eastwood has a quality. Patrick Wayne doesn't really have a quality, does he? He's actually much better looking than his father, but maybe that's another thing that works against him because he doesn't really have a flaw. So you need two things to be a major movie star, a quality and a flaw. John Wayne, he looked kind of roughed up, even when he was young. That was his flaw. Jimmy Stewart, he looked all vulnerable all the time, right? Clark Gable had big ears. Arnold Schwarzenegger, trouble with the language. Mel Gibson and Tom Cruise are short. I think they hit about 5'2", standing on each other's shoulders. So, see, you got to have a flaw. But the real star of this movie, anyway, is Ray Harryhausen. All the creatures in the movie so far, the skeletons with the bug eyes and the overdeveloped quadriceps and the minotaur, the hostile baboon, those were all animated by Ray Harryhausen. Now, Ray Harryhausen went to see King Kong at Grauman's Chinese Theater when he was 8 years old, and the experience forever changed his life because all he wanted to do after that was make movies using stop-motion animation, which is just about the most tedious, boring, painstaking way to make movies in existence for me and you. Because you just sit there and you click off one frame of the film, and then you move the creature's knee joint 1 millimeter to the left, you click off another frame, and maybe you end up shooting 12 frames a day, 24 frames a day. 24 frames a day is 1 second of actual screen time. So you can see how long this stuff takes. So anyway, that was Ray's specialty, and he had gained a huge cult following by 1981 with movies like The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts, all the movies we show on Monstervision, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. He made a total of 17 films, all of them low budget, with pretty bad acting. And the main reason people loved them is that they were waiting for those sequences where the dinosaurs get into a fight or the giant pterodactyl eats somebody. You know, Ray Harryhausen's special effects scenes. Ray preferred spending 2 years animating something rather than sticking a guy in a costume. Even though if you ask me, sometimes a guy walking around in a costume looks more organic than that herky-jerky thing, you know, that Ray does. Anyway, okay, back to the movie. You know, I just realized something. When I was talking about that, all of my ex-wives also have a quality and a flaw. Their quality was between their neckline and their waist, and their flaw was between their nose and their chin. You know what I mean?
In the Eye of the Tiger on TNT.
Okay, in the Arabian Nights, as told by Scheherazade, which tale is Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, guys? Number 734. I know that, you know that, a little baby in its cradle knows that. But if you'll recall, there was no giant walrus in the book. Where did the giant walrus come from? Ray Harryhausen and Beverly Cross wrote this movie, and they decided that the 1,001 tales available to them just didn't give enough options. They wanted to stick the actors in snowsuits in 110-degree weather and have them pretend they were cold. So, and they went all over the world to make this movie. They filmed this in Jordan, Malta, Spain, England. But my question is, why are we even showing this movie on TNT? Because aren't we at war with Iraq? Why are we showing a movie based on the only book that ever came out of Baghdad that we read in the U.S.? We're saluting Iraqi culture tonight at the same moment that we're bombing the holy bejabbers out of them, right? Of course, not much of a war, but because their guys say, Samir, you fly plane today. No, please, my cousin Ahmed will fly plane today. And our guys are just having Arby's roast beef out there in the Gulf saying, what do you think, Tomahawk number 7 or Tomahawk number 9? You know, oh, what the hell, let's launch both of them. You know, we still have some of that Dijon mustard over there. Sinbad go bye-bye right in Baghdad. Okay, let's get back to Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, the adaptation of the Iraqi classic as directed by Sam Wanamaker, the silver-haired guy who played Goldie Hawn's father in Private Benjamin and Diane Keaton's boss in Baby Boom. You'd know him if you saw him. Anyhow, let's get back to the flick. Go. Did I just do that? Did I just mention 2 women from First Wives Club on Monstervision? Did I really do that? Would you just beat my head in with a monkey wrench, please? What's happening to me? If I ever do that again, you can give my ex-wife my home phone number. You know, I know it's certain death, but some things are unforgivable.
Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger on TNT.
Hey, did I see Jane Seymour's right hooter in that skinny dipping scene? There's one problem, though. Either she doesn't have a right nipple or she was wearing a body stocking, and I don't know which one upsets me more, because I'm not too happy when they use body stockings. But I also like my women anatomically correct, so that could be disturbing. The other gal in this movie, the cute Nordic-looking one that the baboon has a crush on, and who can blame him, is Taryn Power, daughter of Tyrone Power and granddaughter of Tyrone Power Sr., who was a big silent film star. Tyrone Power Jr. starred in The Razor's Edge, the one from 1946, and he was Zorro in 1940, and he became more famous than his dad, so he got to drop the junior and just be Tyrone Power. So when people say Tyrone Power, they usually mean Tyrone Power Jr. But he was a big heartthrob in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then he died at the age of 44, so he was kind of immortalized. And his daughter, Taryn Power, actually met Patrick Wayne before Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger in an Adult Children of Famous Fathers Who Can't Really Act But Are Too Rich and Unskilled to Do Anything Else support group. And I don't know why they were in that group, because I think they both do a fine job in this flick. Okay, let's roll it. And I should mention that some of the dialogue in that scene where the baboon is translating for the Cro-Magnon man, that was a little off. The troglodyte was grunting in Middle Neanderthal instead of Early Neanderthal, and the baboon was actually speaking orangutan. Do you notice? You know, I always just enjoy so much reading the viewer mail, especially the hate mail. It makes me feel humble as a person. Of course, I'm not as likely to read that on the air, so if you want me to read your mail on the air, try sucking up to me. That works better. And send copies to the bigwigs over at the network. Send your letters care of Monstervision at 1010 Techwood Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. Emails go to monstervision@turner.com, or visit the Monstervision website. You can do it from there. But don't send the high sheriffs the negative comments, because they're just not used to it like I am. They tend to overreact a little bit.
Visit the Monstervision website at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger on TNT.
Nice Aurora Borealis, huh? Again, remember that this flick was made way back in the early days of the talkies. Way back in 1977, which was the same year of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, same year of Star Wars, so you have to keep it all in perspective. You know, we're lucky the dialogue's even synced up on this baby. Actually, the dialogue's not really synced up, is it? Because sometimes it looks like it was dubbed into Japanese and back. Okay, roll it. You know who has a nice Aurora Borealis? Jane Seymour. Actually, the technical term would be Aurora Borealis, plural. Dr. Quinn, medicate me.
Back to Monstervision host Joe Bob Briggs and Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger on TNT.
So the evil queen with the bird foot loses her weenie son, and she wails about it. And what exactly are the rules here, though? Aren't we supposed to know what the rules are? Where exactly are they? They're somewhere called Hyperborea, which is at the North Pole, but you can walk around in your bathing suit up there, except inside the Shrine of the Four Elements, where they have Egyptian statues and an unexplained lion frozen inside a big ice cube. And ice is not one of the four elements, is it? Not directly, anyway. So there goes that theory. And what's with the blue light pouring into the golden pool surrounded by the giant pharaohs? Why are there Egyptian pharaohs at the North Pole? Isn't Egypt like by the equator? Isn't it a hot country? And if the palace is melting and falling apart, why do you need to stick the baboon in a cage and hoist him up high? Where did it say, hoist the baboon? Did they have an early scene? You're going to have to hoist the baboon when you get there. Is that in one of the ancient runic cuneiforms or something? But we got one of the great Ray Harryhausen fight scenes coming up here in the conclusion to Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, so roll it. Normally when they do this stop-motion animation using a creature with fur on it, like here, the animators get their hands all over it each time they move it, that 1/8 of a millimeter. So the creature ends up looking like it's standing in the middle of a hurricane with his hair blowing all over the place. So Ray Harryhausen had this secret method to prevent that from happening. I don't want to give away all his secrets, you know, but I'm just going to say 2 words. Aquanet, okay? The man was a genius. Okay, zap that baboon.
And now, Joe Bob's Last Call and Clash of the Titans on TNT.
Nothing like a giant saber-toothed tiger wrestling a giant troglodyte followed by an avalanche scene to bring alive those tales of the 1001 Arabian Nights as told by Scheherazade. The original title of that movie was Sinbad at the World's End, but that would have left out the whole giant saber-toothed tiger scene. I guess the whole time you're watching the movie, you're supposed to be thinking, where's the gall-dang eye of the tiger? When do we get to the eye of the tiger part? And of course, that same scene subsequently inspired Eye of the Tiger, the Academy Award-nominated theme song of Rocky III as sung by Survivor, right? I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and I want to remind you that next Saturday is Toby Hooper night, director of the greatest movie ever made, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Unfortunately, we don't have The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We have the semi-decent carnival horror flick, The Funhouse, and one of the few horror movies with that Spielberg glow, Poltergeist. Okay. What's wrong with this list? Sir Laurence Olivier, Dame Maggie Smith, Claire Bloom, and Ursula Andress. Those are the gods and goddesses of heaven in tonight's movie, Clash of the Titans, one of the most requested movies on Monstervision, something of a cult classic, also starring Harry Hamlin in his film debut as Perseus with his magic sword. Lord Olivier, Dame Maggie, and Claire Bloom were combining 150 years of classical stage experience. Harry and Ursula were making a baby. They had a kid together, and it was conceived, I think, during the making of this movie. Harry Hamlin was making use of that magic sword, you know? All right, let's do the drive-in totals and get it going. We have 48 dead bodies, 1 dead wolf, no breasts, tidal wave, Grecian voodoo, burning at the stake, giant vulture transport, winged horse wrangling, mutant axing, hand rolls, head rolls, claw rolls, arrow to the back, two-headed wolf attack, giant scorpion attack, sword wielding, kraken crumbling, blatant day for night, whip foo, Greek statue foo. 2 stars, roll film. This is another Ray Harryhausen flick, and it's either one of the greatest achievements in stop-motion animation special effects filmmaking or a cheap grade B camp classic. Fortunately, at Monstervision, we don't care which.